I made some halwa as a thank you for fixing the fan, she said. I shared that halwa with my friends at university, but in my heart, the taste of her kindness lingered all day. Our routine became a standard. In the evenings, I would sit near her house while she tended to her plants. She spoke of her favorite foods, her husband's calls from abroad, and her deep loneliness. One day she said, "Sometimes, despite having everything, a person feels empty. Can you understand that?" I replied, "Maybe. Sometimes I feel alone even in a crowd." She smiled and said, "Perhaps that's why I like you. You listen without saying a word." From that day on, she stopped calling me son, and started using my name. That single change held a world of intimacy. The rainy evening. One day, while I was fixing a light in her upstairs room, a thunderstorm began. Lightning flashed outside as she stood behind me. When I turned around, I saw raindrops on her face. "It's pouring," she said. "Stay a while until it clears." She made tea, and as the aroma filled the room, I asked, "Why are you always so sad?" She smiled sadly and remarked, "Sadness is a woman's jewelry. My husband is far away. Conversations are brief, but the heart's journey is long." I told her she was strong. She looked into my eyes and whispered, "Sometimes, needs aren't spoken, they are simply felt." The room felt warm despite the rain. She moved closer and said she just wanted someone to hear her. Words became unnecessary. The confession. Weeks passed. We shared stories, laughter, and silences. One day she said, "If I ever leave, remember that someone cared for you deeply." I was startled, but she just looked away with a mysterious glimmer in her eyes. Soon after, I found a letter at my door. "If you have time this evening, come over." My heart is very heavy. When I arrived, she looked exhausted. "I've lost to my own heart," she confessed. "I know this feeling is wrong, by the world's standards, but my heart refuses to listen. Your smile has come too close to my soul." I admitted I felt the same but feared what people would say. She smiled, "People don't know the heart, they only see labels." The final goodbye. The atmosphere shifted when she revealed her husband was returning. She began to withdraw. The door that used to open at the sight of me remained shut. Eventually, I went to see her. "My husband is coming back," she said. "I must live my life again. What happened between us was a moment in time that must end now. You gave me light, but now I must face my shadows alone." A few days later, she came to my door one last time. She was leaving the country forever. "Thank you," she said. "If not for you, I would have never recognized myself. You understood my emptiness but never took advantage of it. You taught me that love isn't a sin." She took my hand. It was trembling. "This is the last time. Promise you won't regret remembering me. This story isn't incomplete, it just finished at its destined time." The door closed. The sound of her footsteps echoed in my heart long after she was gone. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Sudden, unexpected twist years later that birth echo of a lost memory. The years of silence. 3 years passed like a slow-moving river. The White House at the end of the street was sold to a new family, a noisy family with loud children. The silence that Sima Auntie once cultivated was gone, replaced by the mundane sounds of everyday life. I finished university and started working in a firm, but every evening, while passing that gate, my eyes would involuntarily search for a glimpse of a white shawl or the scent of that specific perfume. I thought I had moved on. I thought the moment she spoke of had truly reached its end. But life has a strange way of reopening chapters you thought you had closed. The unexpected letter. One rainy Tuesday, a courier arrived at my office. It was a thick envelope with international stamps, weathered at the edges as if it had traveled halfway across the world. My heart skipped a beat when I saw the handwriting. It wasn't the refined, steady hand from 3 years ago, it was shaky, hurried, and fragile. I opened it with trembling fingers. There was no "dear" or "hello." It started abruptly. "Greater than, they say time heals everything, but time has only made my walls thinner. I am in a place where the sun is bright but there is no warmth. I am writing this because I realize that some secrets are too heavy to carry to the grave. Greater than. The secret revealed. I took a leave from work and sat in a quiet park, the same kind of park we once visited. As I read further, the world around me blurred. Sima Auntie wrote that shortly after leaving for London, her husband had become ill. In his final days, he had confessed that he always knew. He knew about the boy next door, who fixed the bulbs and cleaned the fans. He knew because, for the first time in 10 years, his wife's voice sounded happy over the phone. He hadn't come back to reclaim her, he had come back because he didn't want her to be alone when he passed away. But the real twist came in the final paragraph. Greater than, I told you that we were a moment that ended. I lied. I left not because I had to, but because I was afraid of how much I loved you. I was afraid that if I stayed, I would ruin your young life with my old shadows. But now, I am returning. Not to the White House, but to the city. I will be at the old library cafe this Friday. You don't have to come, but I will be waiting. The meeting. Friday came with a heavy mist. I stood outside the cafe for 20 minutes, debating whether to enter. Was she still the same? Was I? I walked in. In the corner, near a window fogged with condensation, sat a woman. She was no longer 35, she looked her age now. There were fine lines around her eyes, and her hair was shorter. But when she looked up, that same, restless flickering, was there. I sat down. Neither of us spoke for a long time. The waiter brought tea. Finally, she broke the silence. You grew a beard, she whispered, a small smile playing on her lips. And you stopped wearing that perfume, I replied. The confrontation of emotions. She reached across the table and touched my hand, just like she did that last night at the gate. I spent 3 years trying to convince myself that you were just a phase of my loneliness. But every time it rained, I looked for you. Every time a bulb flickered, I waited for a knock on the door. I looked at her, feeling a mix of anger and overwhelming affection. Why did you leave like that? You made me believe I was just a thank you in your life. She teared up. Because you were 22, and I was a woman with a past. I wanted you to find someone your age, someone without baggage. But I realized, souls don't have ages. I saw you in every stranger's face. The new beginning. We walked out of the cafe into the evening air. The street lights were humming. It wasn't the auntie and the neighbor boy anymore. It was 2 people who had survived the storm of separation. She told me she was moving back permanently. She had bought a small apartment on the other side of the city. As we walked, I realized that the completion she talked about 3 years ago was just a pause. What happens now? I asked. She stopped and looked at the moon, then back at me. Now, we don't fix bulbs or fans. We just exist. No labels, no promises to the world. Just us. As I walked her to her car, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders that I hadn't even realized I was carrying. The story didn't end at the White House. It was starting here, in the middle of a crowded city, under the witness of 1,000 lights. Conclusion. People say some relationships are mistakes. Others say they are lessons. But as I watched her drive away, knowing I would see her tomorrow, I knew that some relationships are simply destiny, waiting for the right time to bloom. If you want to see how their journey continues, stay tuned for the next part. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Would you like me to